Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On Point EDC. We have a really cool follow-up for you from the brand Tactile. A little bit about them. They were founded back in 2012. They're out of the USA, and they were founded by Will Hodges. Now, basically, they are just obsessed with making things that will last a lifetime, and that's in a literal sense because they're actually warranted for a lifetime. So these have a lifetime guarantee. Basically, they are hand-machined in Garland, Texas, and they're pretty much instant heirloom pieces. Now, a little bit about this type of product, of course, some key common characteristics in design language when you're looking for a custom pen. You're going to really want that unique design language. Of course, a fun, fidgetable actuation factor always does come into play. And then, of course, you're going to want premium materials and construction, which this definitely has. Now, you may recognize one of the pens on the screen as their newer generation bolt action short in titanium, but the one on the top part of the screen is actually an update. It was actually a birthday gift from my wife, which is their Zirconium model, which is really nice. So I figured I'd do a follow-up, do a little bit of compare and contrast, as well as kind of just talk to you about the element of zirconium, as well as you know, my feel and ownership. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, now before we get into these pens, a quick customary wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Dorenzo today because, well, you know what? With this bandolier style bracelet that I added from Strapcode, it just has that bulletproof feel, and honestly, that's exactly how these feel, as well as just, I mean, this is just beautiful design with fine machining, as you can see there, that 360-degree chamfer that goes all the way around the case, bottom to the top. And then, of course, that really nice blue dial, I think nicely sets off some of the blue accents here, because we do have the Timascus bolt action. There was a part of me that was like, hey, I should probably wear like a titanium dive watch with a ceramic bezel so I can talk about zirconium and zirconia and the difference, and how titanium is, you know, the next thing up in the periodic table. But I decided to just, you know what, just go with it. Let's just roll. This is what's flopping around on my wrist during this. If you want the full review on that, definitely check my channel. I'll try to make it to where at the end of the video, that's what pops up in the box on this little area here. But to pick these up now and look at them, of course, here it's a very similar, you know, this should be a very recognizable silhouette. Pretty much one of the best titanium bolt action pens that are out there. Love it. And it's an amazing piece. I love the action. There are, of course, some changes from the previous generation that were known as the slider and the glider, which kind of culminated in this really nice update, which I really enjoyed. But now here we have this guy, which is just gorgeous, guys. This is the actual full zirconium model. It does have that Timascus bolt action little accent there, as you can see. And basically, if you're wondering what Timascus is, it's basically a Damascus made with titanium. And if you don't know what Damascus is, basically it's just, you know, multiple metals folded and twisted around and basically forged together to make a stronger material, one, and then also give you a little bit of aesthetics while you're at it there. So really, really nice. And then we also do have this nice custom engraving, of course, to commemorate the channel and this segment On Point EDC. And I thought, you know, this was a really nice place to put something, because you got this guy here, although it's very nice. I think this little, it just looks so damn sharp. This thing came out absolutely excellent. I'm just pretty floored with the quality on this particular piece, the way it turned out, and really thankful that my wife decided to shell out the money for it. Now, a little bit about this pen in general. Of course, it is a bolt action, as you can see. I'm actually left-handed, so when I write, and you can choose lefty or righty when you actually are getting your engraving done. So if you're right-handed, you would have the engraving going the other way. For me, as a lefty, it's readable this way. So absolutely love the design on this piece. I mean, obviously you can see these ridges are absolutely insane. And one thing I didn't notice, you know, from looking at pictures most of the time, is just how dark this piece was. I mean, it's almost black. It's especially in comparison to the titanium here, as you can see, which is definitely a brighter, more silver tone, versus here the really dark, you know, darker than gunmetal gray. This is really a near black pen, and I'm really loving that. And I think the high contrast here with this nice little bolt action accent turned out really, really nice. Hopefully the camera is able to pick up the little bit of texturing that you'll see there in some of the color action. Each of these are quite unique, the bolts and whatnot. So really beautifully done. Now a little bit about zirconium. Basically, if you don't know what that is, it sounds probably familiar. A lot of you might be thinking ceramic, but that's zirconia. So zirconium is the element directly below titanium in the periodic table. It shares quite a few properties like extreme corrosion resistance, strength, and density. With titanium, but basically it's slightly heavier than titanium, but definitely still lighter than things like steel, copper, or brass. So that's really nice. And another nice feature is when you heat up titanium, let's say, it can turn blue hues and purple. Here you heat this bad boy up and it turns black. And actually one of the things as far as ceramics go, right, zirconia, all that really is when you add heat and oxygen to zirconium, there's a chemical reaction. So when you do this kind of black oxide coating, you essentially have a it's basically a ceramic coated pen. And when you think about how strong and scratch resistant ceramic is, right, like in your dive watches, you got a ceramic bezel insert, that thing's pretty much scratch proof. So that is just such a cool feature about this that I think a lot of people might not understand, or might not even it might not even be a selling point for them until they really start looking into, hey, what makes this material so special. Obviously it's hard to work with for machining wise, so it's why there's not a bunch of zirconium products out there when you can basically do something like titanium, which is going to be a little bit more traditional. But it just has such a cool, you know, really just one of a kind feel to it, and obviously the look and the story behind it, right? Like, hey, what kind of this is made of zirconium. It's a very, you know, precious material that actually has a lot of great tech involved, which I think is a lot of fun. I love this dark gray, you know, nearly black finish. Let's go ahead and move the titanium off there so that the camera can just focus in a little bit easier on this piece. As you can see, there we go. Now we're tracking. So this thing's gorgeous, guys. Let me just wipe off a little bit of the soot on there. I typically wear gloves in these videos, at least when I'm reviewing watches, but EDC stuff not as much, because you don't really have to worry about smudging. But in this case, I do want to really give you guys best foot forward on really understanding just the craftsmanship there on this piece. If I can get it to any day, camera, any day. Let me see if I can manually get it to, there we go. So thanks for bearing with me on that one, but look at this thing, is just absolutely gorgeous. Obviously you have the machining lines and ridges here that help blend away the fact that this is actually a two-piece, three-piece. If you think about the cap, you can actually unscrew the barrel here, but because the machining is actually so fine, it really does help it kind of blend that seam away, which I think is a really great feature. And obviously you are getting some nice grip here. Although it might appear a little bit slick, kind of just by looking at it, you know, these little ridges, it's almost like knurling, and what it does is it really creates a lot of grip without it being really rough on your hand. So I think that's really nice, and really also quite well balanced. this thing just feels super solid. Obviously, it has that, you know, fun, functional kind of mechanism there, and the minimalist aesthetic is really great. You know, there's design aspects, but there's nothing that doesn't need to be there. Everything serves a purpose. Every little bend, every little curve. I mean, I do enjoy also the flat back, so you can get a little bit more purchase on it. Let's say if you are ever stuck in a situation where you might need to use this as a tactical pen or a weapon of opportunity of any kind, or even to try to break through something if needed, you do get a nice bit of purchase there by resting your thumb on that flat end. So I think that's really nice. Of course, being in the Marine Corps, you're always kind of looking for weapons of opportunity. So I think that's something that's really, really great. Lengthwise, I love it. This is the short. There's two other versions. There's the standard, which is basically a little bit long, half an inch longer, and then we got the mini, which is about half an inch shorter. The standard, I think, is great as well. The mini is really extra small if you want it. I feel like this is kind of the Goldilocks sweet spot of the group. The nice thing is it's actually still a nice length to where it can fit inside a breast pocket. So, you know, if you're wearing a shirt that has a pocket on the front, you can actually tuck this in there and it's not too long. And then, of course, obviously it's not so short where you're going to have to make any concessions when you're actually writing with it. You can write with it this way, or you can even, if you want to, you can, because of the nice ergonomics on that pocket clip, you can even write with it with a pocket clip down in kind of the little pit between your, the little web between your index and your thumb. So either way, it holds really, really nicely. The thickness is about 11 millimeters, so not too thick from that standpoint. Being the bolt action short, the length is only 5.1 inches, which I think is great. The weight is 1.6 ounces, and that's for the Zirconium model. Of course, it will differ if you get this in other materials. You know, I guess to really start wrapping this up, you know, in-hand ergonomics, really smooth, well-balanced, obviously great bolt action, fun to fidget with. I like that they changed the travel on here. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter. You got the high tension spring, everything's sealed. There's nothing to basically get caught up in there. It just has this solid feel. It just feels luxurious. Also feels built like a tank, which is really great. And especially something you would expect in this price point. Did I mention how much it costs yet? So this as spec'd is 279 bucks. Basically, it's 249 for the Zirconium model and all in any length, basically. And then once you add on custom engraving for 10 bucks, and then the Timascus accent bolt, that's another 20. So it brings it out to 279. So this was a really great gift for me. Honestly, I would think of it as actually a really great gift for somebody who, you know, who's really into, let's say, knives. They might own some really expensive knives, and honestly, they'd be able to appreciate the same thing, you know, if they're into watches, and they're into just kind of handcrafted things, especially if they're, you know, in America, in the US, and they want something that's crafted in the US by real, you know, true artisans. When you look at this, the quality, the build quality on this piece, it's just absolutely stunning. Manually, there we go. So, man, that thing, let me just hold it right here and take a look at my notes, make sure I'm not missing any last part as I close this out. Okay, like I mentioned, in the pocket, super nice and compact, obviously quite unobtrusive. That machine grip really helps with extraction. So the grip isn't just where you write, the grip is up here too, which is nice, so you can pull it out very easily. It's not gonna slip out of your hand. So again, it's that form meets function. As far as model variants go, of course, you can get this also in titanium, as seen earlier. You can also get it in copper or bronze. Copper is really nice because it's antibacterial, and you know, in this day and age. And then also, of course, copper and bronze can develop patinas. They're quite a bit heavier, but basically those other models, to include the titanium, all start around 100 bucks. So if this is too much for you, the titanium model is always there. Absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, even as a gift, people would really enjoy this. But if you really want to kind of spend for somebody, you know, special in your life, and really kind of make an impact, I think this, especially with the material choice, even with the accent. It just makes it a more special piece, honestly. Like this thing, obviously, like this in titanium, yeah, it stands out amongst a regular pen. Yeah, this thing looks absolutely killer, feels killer, and it is. It's an amazing product. But now, of course, for me, with a bunch of different types of custom pens and whatnot, and knives and all the stuff on my desk, you get something like this, and honestly, it just it does something else. This stands out amongst a bunch of custom, really cool, high quality pieces and exotic materials, with, you know, really fancified finishing, and there's just really high levels of fit and finish. So bottom line, this was an amazing birthday gift for me, and I really appreciate that my wife got this for me, and it's something that I'll always cherish. It's definitely a fine pen worthy of a special occasion. So dads, grads, you know, and all that jazz. I think it's a great idea, or something to treat yourself. You know, if you have accomplished something, you know, it was nice that obviously it's commemorating my YouTube work and everything with the On Point EDC engraving. So really, this is a gift you can give somebody. It's a luxury item that really will last a lifetime. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.